Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Native English Podcast, where we help you speak English more naturally through real conversations. I'm Mia.
And I'm Max. It's great to be here with all of you today.
Max, I was making plans for this weekend earlier today, and I realized something interesting.
Oh? What happened?
Well, I was talking with a friend about Saturday. I told her, if the weather is nice, I'll go to the park. Then I said, if I finish my work early, I'll meet you for lunch. A few minutes later, I added, if my brother visits, we might have dinner together.
Sounds like you have a busy weekend ahead.
Maybe. Nothing is certain yet. Everything depends on what happens first. If one thing changes, my whole plan changes.
That sounds familiar.
Then my friend laughed and said, you keep saying if.
And she was right.
Very right. After that, I started paying attention. We use if all the time. If the traffic is bad, if the store is open, if the meeting ends early, it seems to appear everywhere.
You know, that observation leads perfectly into today's topic.
It does?
It does. Many English learners hear and use the word if every day, but they do not always understand how many different jobs this small word can do.
That's true. Most people think of grammar rules when they hear the word if.
But in real life, it is much bigger than that. It helps us talk about possibilities, decisions, advice, warnings, and even imaginary situations.
So today, we're going to explore the many uses of if in everyday English.
Through real conversations, real situations, and simple examples that you can start using immediately.
And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Native English Podcast.
Like this episode and share it with someone who wants to sound more natural in English conversations.
You know, Max, when I was learning English, I thought if was just another grammar word.
A lot of learners think that.
I used to see it in textbooks, usually next to rules and sentence patterns.
And that's one reason many people make the word seem more complicated than it really is.
So, what's the easier way to think about it?
Think about function instead of grammar. Ask yourself why the speaker is using if. What idea are they trying to communicate?
I like that approach. It feels more practical.
Because that's how English works in real conversations. We don't stop and think about grammar names. We use language to express ideas, and one of them is possibility.
Like future plans or unexpected situations.
Yes, another common use is advice. People often use if to make suggestions sound more friendly and less direct.
That makes sense. Advice can sound softer that way.
Then we have warnings. If can help us explain what may happen when someone takes a certain action. And finally, if helps us use our imagination. We can talk about dreams, wishes, and situations that are not real.
So we have four big areas: possibilities, advice, warnings, and imagination.
And once you start noticing them, you'll hear these uses everywhere in everyday English conversations.
That sounds like a very useful roadmap for today's lesson.
It is, and we're going to explore each one step by step.
So let's start with the first big use of if.
A very common one. We use if when we're talking about real possibilities.
Things that may happen, but we don't know for sure yet.
That's right. There's a chance they will happen, but the future is still open. For example, if the supermarket is still open, I'll buy some fruit on my way home.
That's something I might actually say after work.
And that's why it's a real possibility. Another example is if the client approves the proposal, we'll start the project next week.
Or, if the manager is available this afternoon, I'll schedule a meeting.
Very natural workplace English.
What about travel?
Travel is full of uncertainty. You might hear, if there are seats available, we'll take the earlier flight. Or, if we arrive before sunset, we'll have time to explore the old town.
I like that word, uncertainty.
It's an important one. Uncertain means something is not known yet. The outcome is still unclear.
And that's connected to another useful word, possibility.
Good connection. A possibility is something that could happen. Not guaranteed, but possible.
And what does likely mean?
Likely means something has a good chance of happening. For example, if the sky keeps getting darker, it's likely to rain soon. Speaking of rain, weather creates endless if sentences.
It really does. People say things like, if the temperature drops tonight, there could be frost in the morning. Weather changes quickly, so people often talk about possibilities.
This reminds me of something that happened last month. I planned a day trip to a nearby lake with some friends. We all agreed that if the forecast stayed clear, we'd leave early in the morning.
Sounds simple enough.
It was, but the forecast kept changing. We checked it several times. In the end, the weather stayed pleasant, and we had a wonderful day.
A perfect example of a real possibility. Nobody knew what would happen, so everyone used if to talk about the different outcomes.
So we've talked about possibilities. What's the next major use of if?
One that people hear every day, giving advice.
That's interesting because many learners don't immediately connect if with advice.
True, but native speakers do it all the time. One of the most common expressions is, if I were you.
I hear that phrase everywhere.
And for good reason. It's a polite way to share your opinion without sounding demanding. For example, if I were you, I'd save a little money each month.
It sounds friendly rather than controlling.
That's the goal. You're offering guidance, not giving orders. What are some other expressions?
Another useful one is, if you ask me.
Like, if you ask me, that restaurant serves the best food in town.
Perfect. You're making it clear that you're sharing a personal opinion.
And what about, if you want my advice?
That's another great expression. You might say, if you want my advice, take some time before making a decision.
All three expressions help conversations feel more natural.
They do, and they often appear when people are facing important choices.
Speaking of choices, I remember a conversation with a friend named Daniel. He was trying to decide whether to stay at his current company or accept a position somewhere else.
That's a difficult situation.
Very difficult. The new role offered more responsibility, but it also meant moving to a different city.
What did you tell him?
I said, if I were you, I'd make a list of the advantages and disadvantages first. Then another friend joined the conversation and said, if you ask me, opportunities like this don't come along very often.
2 pieces of advice, 2 different perspectives.
Later, Daniel spoke with his mentor. The mentor said, if you want my advice, think about where you want to be 5 years from now. He eventually accepted the new position and seems very happy with his choice.
That story introduces 2 useful words. The first is recommendation.
What does recommendation mean?
A recommendation is a suggestion about what someone should do. It's advice based on your experience or opinion.
And perspective?
Perspective is the way someone views a situation. Different people can have different perspectives on the same decision.
Which explains why advice often varies from person to person.
And that's why if expressions are such a useful way to share those opinions respectfully.
Advice helps people make better decisions, but sometimes we use if for a different reason.
Yes, sometimes we're not advising someone, we're warning them.
And warnings are usually connected to consequences.
That's right. A consequence is the result of an action. Something happens, and then something else follows because of it.
So if helps us show that relationship.
Very often. For example, if you leave your phone on the table, someone might take it. That's a warning.
You're pointing out a possible negative result.
Another example is, if you don't back up your files, you could lose important information.
That's a sentence many people need to hear.
Warnings are common because people want to help others avoid problems.
That's another useful word. What does avoid mean?
It means to stay away from it or stop it from happening. For example, leave early if you want to avoid heavy traffic.
And what about prevent?
Prevent means to stop something before it happens. Wearing a seatbelt can help prevent serious injuries in an accident.
So avoid and prevent are both connected to staying safe and reducing problems.
Exactly. You have understood the meanings well.
This reminds me of a travel mistake I made a few years ago.
I have a feeling there's a lesson in this story.
There certainly is. I was visiting a city I'd never been to before. My train to the airport was scheduled for late afternoon. Earlier that day, someone at the hotel told me, if you travel during rush hour, allow extra time.
Guy's advice.
I thought I had plenty of time, so I didn't pay much attention. Unfortunately, the roads became crowded.
Let me guess, you got delayed?
Very delayed. While I was sitting in traffic, I kept thinking, if I had left sooner, this wouldn't be happening.
That's often how travel lessons are learned.
I still made my flight, but only by a few minutes. It was more stressful than it needed to be.
That's an example of cause and effect. Heavy traffic caused delays. The delay nearly caused you to miss your flight.
Since then, I've become much more careful.
That is understandable.
Now, whenever someone is traveling, I find myself saying, if there's any chance of congestion, leave earlier than you think you need to.
A warning based on real experience and one that could help someone avoid the same mistake.
We've looked at possibilities, advice, and warnings. Now let's move to my favorite use of if.
Let me guess, the fun one?
Yes, the fun one.
Then we're talking about imagination and what-if questions.
These are the questions people ask when they want to explore ideas rather than discuss reality.
That's a good description. The answers don't have to be true. They're often imaginary.
Imaginary meaning something that exists only in our minds.
Exactly. For example, someone might ask, if you won the lottery, what would you do first?
That's one of the most popular conversation questions in the world.
Probably because everyone has a different answer.
Mine would be easy. If I won the lottery, I'd spend some time traveling before making any big decisions.
A sensible answer. Some people buy houses, some start businesses, others travel the world.
Speaking of travel, here's another question. If you could wake up tomorrow in any country, where would you choose?
That's a difficult one. There are so many places I'd love to explore.
That's what makes these questions interesting. There isn't a correct answer.
Right, they're designed to spark conversation.
Here's one that many language learners might enjoy. If you could learn any language instantly, which one would you choose?
That's a great question.
What would your answer be?
I'd probably choose Japanese. I've always been fascinated by the culture, literature, and history.
I'd be tempted to choose several languages at once if that were possible.
I think most learners would.
Earlier, you used the word imaginary. There's another word learners often hear in these conversations, hypothetical.
Good point. Hypothetical means based on a situation that isn't real, but is being imagined for discussion.
So a lottery question is hypothetical.
Yes. Another useful word is scenario.
What does scenario mean?
A scenario is a particular situation or sequence of events that you imagine or consider. For example, let's imagine a scenario where everyone could work from anywhere in the world.
So when people ask what-if questions, they're creating scenarios.
That's right. They're exploring possibilities that may never happen, but are still interesting to think about.
And if is the small word that opens the door to all those imaginary worlds.
Which is why these questions are so common in conversations, classrooms, and even job interviews.
You mentioned job interviews a moment ago, and that reminds me of something I've been thinking about recently.
What's on your mind?
A few weeks ago, someone contacted me about a professional opportunity overseas.
That sounds exciting.
It is, but it's also a little overwhelming. If everything goes well, it could be a major step forward in my career.
What kind of opportunity is it?
It's a position with an international company. The role involves working with people from different countries and managing larger projects.
That certainly sounds like career growth.
That's what attracts me to it. If I accept the offer, I'll gain experience that would be difficult to get where I am now.
Have they made a final decision yet?
Not yet. I'm still waiting for a response after the last interview.
Then there's still some uncertainty.
There is. If they choose another candidate, I'll simply continue with my current plans.
A healthy way to look at it.
The bigger question is what happens if they do offer me the position.
Because then you'd have to make a decision.
A very big one. The job would require moving abroad for at least a few years.
How do you feel about that?
Part of me loves the idea. I enjoy meeting new people and experiencing different cultures. But another part of me worries about being far from family and friends.
That's completely understandable.
Sometimes I wonder what you would do.
If I were in your situation, I'd focus on the long-term benefits rather than the short-term discomfort.
That's helpful.
Living abroad can be challenging, but it can also be incredibly rewarding.
One thing that encourages me is the language aspect. I'd be using English every day.
That alone could have a huge impact.
I already spend a lot of time studying, but if I lived in an English-speaking environment, I'd probably improve much faster.
Immersion is powerful. When you're surrounded by a language, learning becomes part of daily life.
Ordering food, attending meetings, making friends, everything becomes practice.
And confidence often grows naturally.
Another thing I've been considering is where I want to be in 10 years.
That's an important question.
If I stay where I am, I know what my path will probably look like. It's stable and familiar.
And if you move,
Then the future becomes much less predictable.
but sometimes unpredictability creates opportunities.
That's true. If nobody ever took risks, many great experiences would never happen.
I agree.
Of course, there are practical concerns too. New country, new systems, new routines.
Every change comes with challenges.
One friend told me, if you get the offer, don't spend months debating it.
Sensible advice.
Another said, if you decide to go, make a plan before you arrive.
Also sensible.
It's funny, everyone seems to have an opinion.
That's what happens when people care about you.
Sometimes I imagine the future. If everything works out, I could look back a few years from now and be grateful that I took the chance.
And if things don't go as planned, you'll still gain experience, knowledge, and perspective.
That's a reassuring way to think about it.
Whatever happens, it sounds like you're approaching the decision thoughtfully, and that's usually the best place to start.
And I think that's what makes today's topic so interesting. We started with a tiny word, but we discovered that it appears in so many different parts of our lives.
It really does. We use it when we're considering possibilities, offering advice, explaining consequences, and imagining different futures.
It's hard to have meaningful conversations without it.
That's because if helps us connect actions, choices, and outcomes. It allows us to think ahead, reflect on situations, and explore ideas.
And the more you notice it, the more you'll hear it in everyday English.
In conversations with friends, discussions at work, travel plans, personal goals, and countless other situations.
So don't think of if as just another grammar word.
Think of it as a tool that helps you communicate more naturally and more clearly.
Before we finish, we'd love to hear from you.
Leave a comment and answer this question. If you could improve one skill instantly, what would it be and why?
We always enjoy reading your responses.
And seeing how you use the English you've learned.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like it.
Subscribe to Native English.
Share it with someone who is working on their English.
Keep practicing and keep moving forward. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.